Hello and welcome to my Kentucky Derby analysis. There are 20 horses in this race, so I might not say a lot about each horse, but I'll try my best. In any case, I'm using Timeform US because it'll help me find the underneath horses. I'm going to look at the late pace ratings. So let's start with Dornoch. Number 1 is Dornoch. He was kind of disappointing in the Bluegrass Stakes, finishing 4th after stalking the pace. I thought he would move forward off his Fountain of Youth win. Now he could improve here, getting sent to the lead from the rail. But in general, I don't like to take inside speed horses because they get the most pressure. They have to face the rail to their left, and they have to face speed horses to their right. And there's other speed to his right, obviously, in the Kentucky Derby. Dornoch isn't for me in this race, but I understand the argument for giving the Bluegrass run. Number 2 is Sierra Leone. He's the best closer in this race. He just won the Bluegrass Stakes from off the pace, and he won the Risen Star Stakes at Fairgrounds from off the pace. Now, he did get a setup in the Bluegrass Stakes. The fractions were fast, if you can see the red fractions, or the red pace figures on Timeform US. But he also overcame a slow pace at Fairgrounds when he won the Risen Stars, so I think the fractions don't matter. It's a matter of getting a trip, and if he can work out a trip for post 2, he'll be at the mixed late for the win. But that's a big question, and he is a popular horse among handicappers, so I think it's worth it trying to beat Sierra Leone. Maybe he'll get shuffled back into a bad position. Number 3 is Mystic Dan. He has a 97 Timeform US late pace rating. He was only 3rd by 6 1/4 lengths in the Arkansas Derby, but I thought it was a good effort. Booth and Just Deal were in front of him, and Just Deal ran the race of his life to finish 2nd. 2 starts ago, Mystic Dan won the Southwest Stakes by 8 lengths over the mud. Both starts were at Oaklawn. Last fall, Mystic Dan broke his maiden by 7 3/4 of a length in a sprint, but still, it's good that he has experience over this track. I think Mystic Dan could pick off enough horses to finish 2nd or 3rd. It just depends on which horses fire and which don't, and whether or not he can work out a trip. He's not the best closer in this race, but he's a good horse, and I'm going to use him. Number 4 is Catching Freedom. Now, he has a 113 late pace rating on Timeform US. He just won the Louisiana Derby by a length over Honor Marie. And before that, he also won the Risen Star. No, he was 3rd in the Risen Star to Sierra Leone and Track Phantom. But he was kind of unprofessional in the Risen Star. If you watch the race, he was running kind of awkwardly in the stretch. And in the Louisiana Derby, he was more straightforward. I couldn't notice anything wrong with his stretch run in the Louisiana Derby. He outran Honor Marie in the stretch, and he won by a length. And I don't think he's a great horse, but he's a good horse. As long as he works out a trip, I think he could finish 2nd or 3rd, or even win, I guess, if Fierceness doesn't fire his race, and Sierra Leone doesn't fire his race either. Brad Cox trains him. I'm going to use him underneath. He's 8-1 on the morning line. He's probably going to stay around there. And I just think he's a good underneath horse. Number 5 is Catalytic. And even though he ran 2nd in the Florida Derby, I question whether he's prepared for this race. He only has 3 starts, and this is a 20-horse field where he could get bumped around and roughed up by other horses. I think he's going to get discouraged by how big the field is and how much traffic there is. He's not for me. Number 6 is Just Steel. I thought about using him. He ran 2nd in the Arkansas Derby. It was an improved effort off his other starts. He was 7th by 10 lengths in the Rebel Stakes, 2nd by 8 lengths to Mystic Dan in the Southwest Stakes. How did he improve in the Arkansas Derby? I don't know. It was a good effort. I don't trust him just yet, though, and I tend to not trust Dwayne Lucas when considering horses to bet. I know that sounds strange because Dwayne Lucas is a trading legend, but these days I just don't trust him. In any case, he's not for me, but I understand the logic for using him. Number 7 is Honor Marie. He has a 119 late pace rating on Timeform US. He ran 2nd in the Louisiana Derby behind Catching Freedom. He couldn't outrun Catching Freedom in the stretch run in that race. However, it was his 2nd start off a layoff, and before that, he ran 5th in the Risen Star while closing strongly at the end. So there was a progression from the Risen Star to the Louisiana Derby. And last fall, he won the Kentucky Jockey Club over this racetrack, which is encouraging. Now, Honor Marie will make his 3rd start of the year, And if he can work out a trip, he'll be right there, second or third, or he could even win if Fierceness and Sierra Leone don't fire their races. But I'm going to use him underneath. He's 20 to 1 on the morning line. He might go down a little bit off that, but I still think he'll be double digit odds. Not every horse could be single digits. Number 8 is Just a Touch. He survived the fast pace in the Bluegrass Stakes to finish second to Sierra Leone, and before that, he was second in the Gotham Stakes back in March. I have nothing against him, really. He survived the fast pace, and he's going to face another fast pace in here, so the Bluegrass was good practice for this race. However, I'm still going to use closers in second. I won't be surprised if Just a Touch survives the pace again and finishes second to beat my horses, but I will let him beat me, and I'll keep an eye on how he does and maybe consider him down the line. Number 10 is Tio Password. He barely won his last race by a head in Japan. I think it was called the Fukurio Stakes. I could have said that wrong. And he broke his maiden before that. He only has 2 starts. Even if I could believe this horse is good, he only has 2 starts. And they came in Japan. I think he's going to finish last, honestly. Number 11 is Forever Young. He's done good work in the Middle East. He won the Saudi Cup by a head over Bukim Dano, who I consider a fast horse. And then he won the UAE Derby by 2 lengths over Audubon, and Panda Gate was in third. I'm familiar with Bukim Dano, so you can use the Saudi Cup as a measuring stick to say that this is a fast horse. However, Forever Young has been in the Middle East, and I don't think that prepares him for the Kentucky Derby. I think to win the Kentucky Derby, you have to prepare in America and race in an American prep race. With that in mind, I just don't think that Forever Young is for me. But I understand the logic for using him, and he's a talented horse. He belongs at the Grade 1 level, but I just don't think I want to use him here. Number 12 is Track Phantom. I don't think Track Phantom wants 10 furlongs. In the Louisiana Derby, he set the pace before fading to 4th by 2.5 lengths. He didn't lose by a lot, but still, this is 10 furlongs, and he's going to face 20 horses now. And Catching Freedom and Honor Marie both passed him in the stretch. So why not just use Catching Freedom or Honor Marie? Before that, Track Phantom was second to Sierra Leone in the Risen Star, but I forgave the effort at the time because he lost to Sierra Leone. Still, the Louisiana Derby was enough for me to say he doesn't want to go 10 furlongs. Number 13 is West Saratoga. I just think he's overmatched in this race. Even if I could forgive the synthetic effort, he was also third by 6.5 lengths on dirt in the Sam F. Davis Stakes, and he was second by 12.5 lengths in the Pasco Stakes at Tampa Bay Downs. And given those races on dirt, I see no reason why to trust him here. Number 14 is Endlessly. If you listen to his trainer's comments over the past few weeks, Michael McCarthy doesn't seem to want to be in this race. I think if McCarthy had his way, this horse would be racing on turf this week. He is a good synthetic horse. He won the Jeff Ruby Stakes by 4 lengths, and he also won the El Camino Real Derby by a length and a quarter. And he was good on turf too. He won the Zuma Beach last fall at Santa Anita Park. He should be on turf or synthetic, and I don't think he's going to run well here. Number 15 is Domestic Product. It's hard to judge him because he keeps running in slow-paced races. He was second in the Holy Bull Stakes, and then he won the Tampa Bay Derby after closing into a slow pace. And whenever there's a slow pace, it's hard to earn a fast final time because there's only so much time left after the slow fractions. After you go in 24:49, it's harder to come up with a fast final time. And speed figures are based on final time, so that's important to know. Domestic Product can probably run a faster speed figure than what you see on paper. However, I don't know if he wants to go 10 furlongs. He's a by practical joke, and I just want to see him win a 10 furlong race or run well in the 10 furlong race before I trust him. I'll just watch and see how he does in this race. Number 16 is Grand Mo the First. He runs third a lot. He was third in the Tampa Bay Derby, and then he was third in the Florida Derby. He lost by 16 lengths. However, I think if he played a superfecta, you could put him in fourth. He just seems like the kind of horse that keeps chugging along, and maybe he'll pass some tired horses in the stretch. Number 17 is Fierceness. He's the most talented horse in this race. He won the Florida Derby by 13.5 lengths. And before that, he was third in the Holy Bull, but you can cross that out. It came off a layoff, and he had some trouble running into the first turn. In the Florida Derby, he showed us what he's made of, and he did it so easily. Some horses, they win by big margins with a jockey you know, shaking the reins or using the whip as they go towards the wire. But Fierceness did it all on his own. Velasquez wasn't even asking him in mid stretch. He was just running on his own. And he did it so easily. He's the most talented horse, as I said, and the sky is the limit. I think he needs a clean run into the first turn to run his best. I don't think he needs the lead because when he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year, he was sitting off another horse. So he doesn't necessarily need the lead, but he does need to run free of traffic. And I actually think that the wide post position will help him because if you're a speed horse and you draw wide, it means you can run in the clear for a little bit before crossing over to join the other speed horses up front. It does concern me a little bit that Epic Ride drew into the race and he's going to be outside of Fierceness, but maybe it'll be okay. I'll just have to trust that Fierceness is the best horse in the race, and I'm going to use Fierceness on top. Number 18 is Stronghold. He won the Santa Anita Derby by neck over Imagination, and before that he won the Sunland Derby. And he's a good horse, but I think he's overmatched in this spot. I think that the Santa Anita Derby was a weak race this year, especially when Nisos was injured. It just made the race weaker than it should have been. And the Sunland Derby is generally not a strong race for the Kentucky Derby, so he's not for me. Number 19 is Resilience. He won the Wood Memorial by 2 1/4 lengths over Society Man and Protective. And who are those horses? Society Man has improved, though, but I still think the Wood Memorial was a weak race. Before that, Resilience was fourth in the Ridden Star behind Sierra Leone, Track Phantom, Catching Freedom. And that was a good effort, although he did lose to them with no real excuse other than the slop. I think he's overmatched too. I think he drew a bad post position. I will look and see how he does and maybe consider him down the line, but I don't like Resilience in the Kentucky Derby. Number 20 is Society Man. He broke his maiden by 3 lengths in March, and then he ran second in the Wood Memorial. Before that, as a maiden, he ran 8th in the Winter Stakes by 15 1/4 lengths, and it was disappointing because I kind of liked him in that race. I see he's improved since then with the second in the Wood Memorial. Still, I don't completely trust him. He looks good in the mornings training with Dornoch, but I'm going to pass on him from this post position. Number 21 is Epic Ride. Surprisingly, he ran a good race in the Bluegrass Stakes at 51 to 1. He was third after stalking the fast pace, and he lost by 5 1/4 lengths, but that's a good effort after chasing the fast pace. And before that, he was good on synthetic. He won the Leonardo Stakes at Turfway Park, and then he was second in that John Battaglia Memorial to Encino, who was scratched from this race. Epic Ride has a tough post position. He needs to work out a good trip. And I'm not going to pick him because I want to pick a closer in second, and I'm picking Fierceness on top. But I won't be surprised if he hits the board. Again, though, this is a tough post position. He will need to work out a good trip. Maybe follow Fierceness as he crosses over the field. And maybe work out a stalking position from there. But I understand the logic for using him. He could hit the board. If you're playing a Superfecta, you might want to consider Epic Ride, but he's not for me. Mugatu is number 22. And I don't understand how this horse ran 5th in the Bluegrass Stakes. He didn't look that great on paper. I mean, it's not just he ran on synthetic in his races. He also has a dirt start way back in his form. Last December, he ran 4th by 10 lengths in an allowance race at Gulfstream Park on dirt. And maybe he's improved since then on dirt, but it surprises me that he was only like a length away from Dornoch in 4th in the Bluegrass at 99 to 1. If Mogadu draws in, I'm not going to use him, but I understand after looking at Rich Strike a few years ago that anything could happen. And if Mogadu hits the board, it's not the craziest thing I'll have ever seen in horse racing. I'm just going to pick Fierceness on top. He's my single in this race. He's the most talented horse. He's got the best speed figure. He's got tactical speed. And I think he has a good post position for what he wants. And I'm going to use the 2 closers from the Louisiana Derby, Catching Freedom and Anna Marie in second. Also, I'm going to use Mystic Dan in second. So I'm doing an Exacta wheel, Fierceness on top, Mystic Dan, Catching Freedom, and Anna Marie in second. Maybe one of those horses will give me a price to make the Exacta payoff decent enough. We'll see what happens. And also Fierceness to win. Thanks for watching my Kentucky Derby analysis, and I'll see you guys soon.